to be here. As I said, it's been an interesting week where a lot of people are facing a lot of challenges. And so it's nice to be here among fellow believers who affirm the truth and who know that despite whatever pain we're seeing around us, there is an underlying love that really sustains all of us. So I appreciate being in your presence. And for those of you who are at home, same. Doesn't matter where you are. We are one in spirit. So today I'd like to talk about the difference between being smart, which is good, and being wise, which is better. And then we're going to talk about the highest form of wisdom, which is best. Now, to be a bit simple about it to get started, smart people can rattle off all kinds of factoids and data, right? I mean, they gather and they remember facts. They know the dates of major battles and super big events in history. You know, they know the definitions of words. Mm-hmm. They can do crossword puzzles in pen. They, but and back when I was smart, back in college, I remember that I used to cram for final exams at the last minute, stuffing myself with all the facts and all the information from the required books and all of my notes, so that the day of the test, I could regurgitate it back for the teacher, pass the test, and then get on with my life. Now, did I remember much of that stuff? Not really, right? Not really at all. But maybe that's really not a fair example of what being smart is, because, it's knowledge is information and knowledge is good. We need it. And knowledgeable people we need to appreciate. Knowledge is a good thing. We have to learn facts to know how to navigate in the world. We have to know things so that we can function safely. Ignoring signs is a good way to end up at the wrong destination, which I have done more than once. Yeah. Now, here's an important fact, for example. The pedal on the right is the accelerator. The pedal on the left is the brake. And you need to know these things in order to be safe, correct? I'm going to have to put this over here for a second. Okay, so knowledgeable people, smart people, can tell you things you need to know in order to navigate. They know how airplanes fly, for example. They know if you do X, then Y will result. They know if you do this cause, this effect will happen. And so the more information I have readily available in this database that I call my memory, right? The more accessible it is, then the smarter I might seem to be. I can impress people with how smart I am. But does that make me wise? Now, here's a quote I would like to share from a very unusual mystic and sage. And the quote is this: knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. And you know who said that? Jimi Hendrix. Isn't that cool? Yeah. Knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. And so now we're going from good to better. Moving from being smart and knowledgeable to being wise. Knowledge speaks, wisdom listens. And I would go even farther than that. I would say listen with your mouth closed and your heart open. And we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. Wisdom is knowledge with an extra added ingredient: experience, right? Putting information to use and seeing how it shows up in the world or in your life or in the lives of the people you love. Wisdom comes from experience. Knowledge is good, but it can come and go. Witness my studying and cramming for exams for all that information that I cannot recall for the life of me. But the wisdom you gain from your experiences stays with you and becomes part of you. Now, our science and our technology is incredible and is doing amazing things about new knowledge almost every day just pouring in. I mean, look at what the Webb telescope is showing us and teaching us about our universe and the origins of our universe. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Wonderful. But it's only wisdom that will take knowledge like that from the Webb telescope and teach us how to treat our planet better, the one we live on, and to appreciate it. So in my mind, then, the wise person doesn't focus on facts, but on how facts interconnect to reveal a bigger picture or a deeper truth. And also, I think wise people are more open. They're not so sure that they know everything. Their teacup is so full, nothing else can get in. So they're open to more ideas, more voices, more experiences, and more expressions of what could be. Right? I think wise people know how much they don't know. And most importantly, I think, wisdom is willing to invite others into the conversation, so that the sphere of connection and community is enlarged, deepened, and diversified. When I was preparing this talk, two different similes about knowledge versus wisdom came to me almost simultaneously. So I'm going to give them to you both. The first, we always talk about connecting the dots. You've heard that? Right, okay. So when we talk about connecting the dots, then I saw all the little factoids and bits of data that make up knowledge as individual dots scattered across the landscape of my intellect. Then I saw wisdom come along and begin connecting those dots, creating intersections and exchanges and angles until finally a complete picture emerged that was complete and full, and it was total. The truth is total then, not little bits and pieces, so that they were synthesized into something that was whole. And we know wholeness is the nature of life. And then at the same time, because these were both coming to me so fast, I thought that facts are like very many interesting and beautiful single musical notes, whereas wisdom is like a symphony. Yeah. All those notes becoming connected and synchronized into a meaningful pattern whose final result is greater than the sum of its parts. Amy, as a musician, I know you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I don't often read an awful lot to you when I'm talking, but I do want to read to you something from Howard Thurman. I hope all of you are familiar with Howard Thurman. I think his writings are beautiful. So I'm going to read something Howard Thurman wrote in his book, Meditations of the Heart. And I need my glasses because it's not in 16-point type. The wisdom of God is my abiding strength. Knowledge abounds on every hand by which my steps may be guided. Facts, facts, facts. They are everywhere about me. I know with my mind the meaning of many choices that I make. Besides, there are many sources upon which I may draw for information that will be the raw material of my decisions. But facts are not the heart of my need. I need wisdom, the quality that will make clear to me the significance, the relatedness of things that are a part of my daily experience. I need wisdom to cast a slow and steady radiance over all my landscape, in order that things, choices, deeds may be seen in their true light, the light of the eternal and the timeless. The wisdom of God, how can I abide without it? If that is withdrawn, then I am forced to lean on my own understanding or the understanding and opinions of other people. The wisdom of God can flood even the error of my ways and transform my error into a path of light. God has been at work in life longer than my days and the days of humankind's long journey, and it will give to me the full sweep of spirit, even in my little life with its big problems. This I know. Therefore, the wisdom of God is my abiding strength. I like old Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's cool. So, in the Bible, it says this: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And Howard Thurman knew that. But I want to make sure that you know that in the original Aramaic, the word fear doesn't mean being scared or cringing before something that might harm you, right? The fear of the Lord means being in awe, of being floored by the grandeur of Creator God, so that words falter and your mind just falls still. So now we make that final leap from good to better to best, the highest form of wisdom. And to do that, I'm going to go back to something Howard Thurman said about wisdom making clear the relatedness of things. Wisdom makes clear the relatedness of people. With the highest form of wisdom, we move from the wisdom of the head to the wisdom of the heart. Some thousands of years ago, Aristotle said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So remember what I said about keeping your mouth closed and your heart open? The highest form of wisdom is compassion. Compassion is our deepest nature, regardless of those who will tell us that it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, right? Or that nice guys finish last. Compassion arises naturally from our interconnectedness with each other and with all things. So when we stop talking so much and start listening, when we admit the depths of our ignorance, when we invite others' ideas and voices into our world, then we lift the veils of blindness and separation that cause so much pain and violence and suffering. Compassion happens when we see that our human situation is clear and that we are one. We honor people by speaking less to them and listening more intently to how we can love them. How can we help? As Nikki was saying. I know we've all had situations where compassion doesn't seem to be there at first. For example, running around with like a bag full of groceries, and you're rushing home and you run into somebody else and boom, all the groceries go spilling everywhere and you got smashed tomatoes and you're going, what's the matter with you? Why don't you watch where you're going? And you look up and you see that the person is blind. And immediately you move from anger to, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Can I help? And you pick up their groceries, So yeah, in the haste of our lives and our self-absorption, sometimes we forget. But it doesn't take much to come back to the truth. It would be foolish to ignore or deny the aggression or the aggressive aspects of human nature. I mean, they're there. But the opposite and more powerful truth is that our individual lives and our whole society are built upon innumerable acts of kindness. And if New Thought teachings teach anything at all, it teaches oneness, right? One life, one love, one incredible wisdom, one consciousness, one beingness. One beingness that expresses itself uniquely through each person and yet unifies and unites us absolutely. And so what's really interesting is that this connectedness isn't just a metaphysical truth, by the way. There is a neurological basis for compassion as well. Real research backed by clinical trials has shown that there is a class of brain cells called mirror neurons, through which we actually feel the emotions, movements, and intentions of others. Researchers say that these mirror neurons are part of our social brain that is at work with every human encounter. How about that? We are hardwired for empathy. A leading neuroscientist says that this neural mechanism is involuntary and automatic. With mirror neurons, we don't have to think about what other people are doing or feeling. We simply know. And he goes on to say that it seems that we're wired to see other people as similar to us rather than different. At the root, as humans, we identify the person we're facing as someone like ourselves. Now, as with the example of running into somebody and moving into anger and being separate, yes, there are many people who don't recognize this oneness and act from separation. Yes. And as I said, the underlying truth is deeper and more than that. Because the solitary, isolated human being is a contradiction in terms. Right? I cannot harm you without harming myself. If I be lifted up, I take all with me. Right? At a very deep, even subconscious level, I know this. So when I see you suffer, my heart responds. Compassion is natural. Compassion means love. I'm going to quote Ernest Holmes, who was the founder of religious science, my particular form of New Thought. He wrote, I am one with all people, with all things, with all of life. As I listen, get that? Listen, not speak. As I listen, in the one silence, the voice of all humanity speaks to me and answers the love I hold out to it. So as we deepen our spiritual practices and we become more skillful, perhaps, in living by and applying the principles of truth that we espouse here at the Home of Truth, making them part of our everyday lives, compassion and loving kindness becomes easier to give, becomes more automatic because it's already there. Through practices like meditation and affirmative prayer, reading good books, coming together in sacred groups to celebrate and recognize the divinity that we all are, God, we gradually expand our capacity to love more and demand less, and to include more strangers in what we call our family. It becomes easier to love with a wise heart. So the highest form of wisdom is indeed compassion and love and caring. For without compassion, we could not preserve ourselves or others or society itself, frankly. But we are all one anyway, and but even more. With a wise heart, we not only preserve those things, we expand and nurture them. We become a symphony instead of noise. So may you be wise. May you be compassionate. And may you sing your heart song with joy. Namaste.
Mm-hmm.
So in that